lucky number ones.
If model cars are your sort of thing, then be with us for About Britain at 1:30. But now, let's turn our attention to real cars in Do It Herself.
Well, as you can see, today we have decided to come out about. Welcome to the programme. We're going to take the car to the filling station and put in some petrol. Apparently some people are a bit apprehensive about using an automatic filling station. So we would hope to take some of the mystique out of that and fill the car with petrol. So here we go. And there we are, there's the machine. Take off the safety belt. Get started. Well, I've stopped the car alongside the pump. The first thing I have to do is to remove the petrol cap. Now, in this car, it's a locking petrol cap, and the key is on the ring with the ignition key. You may not have a key, in which case you just take it off by hand. So remove the petrol cap, and I'll put it here for safekeeping. Then you look to the dial, and you see the price of the petrol. And alongside that, there are 3 buttons, 3 grades of petrol. In this machine, it's 2, 3, or 4-star. You select the grade for your car. This car takes 4-star petrol, so I press the button which has the 4 stars on it. Now, it's important that you do this, otherwise you'll get the same grade of petrol as the previous customer, and that might not do your car any good. Remove the gun from the side of the machine and check that the display is at 0. Now, it's very important that you must do this, otherwise, if the machine weren't working properly, you might find you are also paying for petrol of a previous customer. So check that the display is totally at 0, and then simply put the nozzle in the car and pull the trigger. And as soon as you do that, the petrol starts to flow in. You put in as much or as little as your car requires. If you want to fill the car with petrol, you just keep your hand on the trigger, and when the level of petrol reaches the bottom of the nozzle, then it'll automatically shut off. I think one of the things most people fear is that the car is going to fill with petrol and it's going to splash out and go on your shoes and on your clothes and on your car. This shouldn't happen. So as soon as you feel it click off, that's the car full. But if you want to put in only a certain amount, keep your eye on the display. It tells you the price of the petrol you're putting in. It tells you the amount. Now, this has clicked off. The car is full. I put the gun back in its place. I replace the petrol cap. Sometimes I have to wiggle it around to get it in exactly the right place. Turn the key, and I'm ready now to pay the amount it says on the display. But before I do that, I'm going to check to see if we need oil. So I have to release a lever in the front of the car to release the bonnet. To release the bonnet, there's a little catch underneath. That's it. And then it's held in place with a stay. I've got some oil and I've got some dirty rags, or clean at the moment. I'm going to check the oil. Now, you'll know by the owner's manual where the oil is in your car. And I know that in this one, in the back corner, we have the oil and the dipstick. So I'm going to go and check it. You pull out the dipstick and wipe it clean. Don't take a reading at this stage because the oil will have been splashed about when the car was moving. So you clean the dipstick, you put it back in position. Then you take it out and make a reading. Now, in every dipstick, there'll be 2 marks, one to indicate the minimum and one to indicate the maximum amount of oil. I can see in this one that the oil is just over the minimum amount. So it's time to put in some oil. So I'll wipe the dipstick, put it back in place, and put in about 1 litre of oil. Undo the oil cap and pour in the oil. And then it's very important to remember to replace the oil cap. Otherwise, the bonnet of the car, the inside of the bonnet is going to get in a frightful mess when you start driving. The oil in place. You can't take a reading at this time because the oil takes some time to settle. So I can close the bonnet, close it, and then go and pay for the petrol, which I've already put in the car. Well, I've paid for my petrol, and now I've taken the car over to the airline so that I can check the pressure in the tyres. I've got the hose from the wall. There's a display to show the pressure in the tyres, and the first thing to do is to remove the dust cap, which covers the valve. The pressure in the tyres depends on the model of car, and you'll find out what's suitable for your car in the car manual. In this one, £26 is what I'm looking for in each tyre. So I'm going to test and see what there is at the moment. You take the little nozzle at the end, push it on the valve and press hard and look at the display to see the pressure in the tyres. Now it goes up gradually and I want 26. So I work this lever with my thumb and gradually pump in air. 22, 24, 25, 26. 26, it's as simple as that. Every airline isn't exactly the same, but they're all just as simple to use. Don't forget to replace the dust cap on the valve. Now all I must do is to check the other 3 tyres, and then my car is perfectly safe again. And now over to Muriel.
Well, there's a lot of things I would like to know about tyres and tyre pressures, and I've got with me the man who has all the answers. Ken Duquid, supervisor of the AA for the Grampian area. Ken, first of all, these tyre pressure gauges in garages, are they accurate? Because I've been told that you should put in about £1 more pressure, you know, when you're using them.
Most of them are accurate, Muriel, because a reputable garage or a tyre centre will get their gauges tested every now and again. Because, you see, the manufacturer says what pressure should be, and it's up to them to keep them. But personally, I carry around my own tyre pressure gauge, and it's handy, it sticks in your pocket, and I usually check it after using the garage tyre pressure gauge. I use my own one.
Yes, so you've got a double check there.
So a double check, and I have a pretty good idea that just whether it's right or wrong.
Yes. Now, there's a lot of legal requirements about tyres, Ken, aren't there?
Yes.
What are some of these?
Well, the main thing is that I brought this tyre along to show you. Now, a tyre must have at least 1 millimetre of tread, 3/4 of the way the width across, and all the way around. Now, if the other quarter has no tread showing at all, then the tyre is illegal, and this one is actually illegal.
And how am I going to know when there's a millimetre of
well,
tread?
We've got a tyre depth gauge, and you can see there's a little probe there, shaped, and you merely put that down, you push it into the bottom of the tread, and that then shows you the measurement. You see there's 2 at both sides.
Yes.
And a millimetre, minimum of 1 millimetre of tread. But there's been tests carried out on these things, and this tyre, by the way, you'll find that it's got a bad cut in it there, and that's probably what they call an impact fracture. You can see the rim is dented there.
It's quite a gash, isn't it?
And somebody has probably run up against a curb or something sharp, and they've cut that tyre against the rim.
So that whole tyre is illegal, in fact?
That tyre's illegal.
Even as a spare?
Even as a spare.
And are there people driving around with tyres like this?
Oh, yes. There's about 3,250,000 cars fail their MOT test annually because of bad tyres. And on top of that, the tests have been carried out, and it's been proved that a tyre with 1 millimetre of tread is about 7 times more vulnerable to a to accident than a tyre with 3 millimetres of tread in.
Gosh, so that's something well worth
So
checking on,
it's
isn't
well
it?
worth checking the whole time.
Now, I see you brought along a whole lot of other things here which might be useful to carry in the car for emergencies. Can you tell us something about them?
Well, there's the foot pump first. It's handy to have in a car. You don't often use it, perhaps, but it is handy. If you get a flat or if a slow puncture in a narrow road, you can always pump your tyre up and get yourself to a place of safety.
It's awful hard work, isn't it?
If you're never fit.
And of course, you've got a warning triangle there. If you were parked on a narrow road, you would need to use that, wouldn't you?
You'd use that and you'd put it down. Maybe you might be on a bad corner, you put it around a bad bend. But on the continent, it's compulsory to carry these, and it's an offence not to have them in the car.
So it's quite a useful thing to have
So
around.
it is.
Now, that's a very smart-looking petrol can. I think I'd like to put that in the kitchen, actually.
Well, this is a 2-gallon one, and it's very handy to have spare petrol in your boot. You can get gallon cans, and you can also get gallon plastic containers now, which at one time were illegal, but they're now legal.
And it's a good idea to have a gallon of petrol
It's
with
a
you,
good
isn't it?
idea, especially if you're travelling out in the wilds, where there's very few garages and so on.
Yes.
And it's also a good idea to carry with you maybe a condenser, contact breaker point, and the rotor arm.
All sounds terribly technical. I don't think I could fit any of that.
No, you probably wouldn't. But then, if you get to a garage where they maybe haven't got the particular part for your car, they'll be quite prepared to fit it
Yes,
for
I
you.
suppose so, and then you would have the right thing there. I might manage a fan belt, I feel.
A fan belt, yes, you could. You could quite easily fit that, but get the right tension on. But then again, even if you can't, you can always get somebody to fit it who knows how to do it.
Yes, in a small local garage, for
The
example.
thing to remember is that if you've got these and you change your car or change even the model of the car, then you want to change these with them. Otherwise, you may land with the
I
wrong
see you brought
type.
light bulbs. The same would apply to that, would it?
Light bulbs, the same would apply. There's headlamp, there's tail lamp, there's side lamp and stop tail lamp. And, of course, there's this big one here. Now, it looks something different, but it is just a bulb. It's what they call the seal beam unit.
And some cars have
And
those instead.
Some cars still have those instead of the smaller bulbs there.
And that's a very smart-looking tow rope, is it?
That's one of the new nylon-type tow ropes, and who knows, someday you may land in a ditch, or you maybe just land in soft earth and be towed out, or you may want to tow somebody else out.
Yes, very true. Or you might want to climb the north wall of the Eiger with it.
Well, yes, you might. You might.
Now, I see here in large letters emergency windscreen, and this hits very near to home because we had a nasty experience where somebody put a hammer through our front windscreen in a car park, and it was a bucketing wet night. And boy, could we have done with a windscreen. So I've been thinking about getting one of these for a while, but they're quite expensive. They're about £13, and are they difficult to fit?
They are a wee bit expensive, but they're not difficult to fit. In fact, they're very, very easy. But why can't we just put it on just now?
Okay.
You go round the other side there.
Right.
Now, you're always best if you've got the windows open, and you open your doors. Of course, you'd have to take these up anyway, and you make sure that you knock out all the glass, not just a small portion of it. You knock out all the glass, but get these vents, your air vents, covered in so that the glass doesn't go around them.
Newspaper or something would do
Yes,
for
newspaper would
that.
do
I see.
nicely. And then you'll see that these steel rods, you make sure that they're up against what would have been the windscreen.
Yes.
You pull it across. Make sure it's fitted down, right down onto the
Onto the
all the way
rubber.
down. Open the doors completely. Get your hand inside this one. And pull it tight. And it's not just quite far
A bit
enough
further
down.
down, yeah.
That's it.
Now, of course, if I was driving the car,
And
I would
that's
get
it.
inside at this
Now
point.
you get
wouldn't I?
inside on that side, pull it tight and slam your door.
That's jolly
Of course,
good.
before you do that, you've got to put down your wipers.
Super.
And you
Well,
can use your wipers on there.
that certainly might get you out of a lot of difficulty, Ken, I think. And, well worth having. I believe I could even manage to fit that if I could.
Oh, there's no doubt in that.
Well, certainly a lot of useful hints here and things that might get you out of a spot of trouble, especially in a remote area. Thanks a lot, Ken, for all those useful ideas.
Hello, Ken. Hello, Muriel.
Hello.
I have brought back a wiper blade and a lamp for the headlamp, which is burst.
Super.
So how about me fixing them on for you?
That's a very kind offer, and I'll take that up. I'm going into the house to get rid of some oil stains, so maybe, Ken, you'd like a lesson?
Yes, I'll have a lesson.
Right.
Leave me to do this bit. Now, I've took the precaution of taking a duster because I think it's important to avoid scratching the surface of the car when you start working on it. The wiper blade we're going to replace because it has got a bit worn and it's not cleaning properly. The whole unit can be bought in one and replaced as one. You've got to know the sort of car you're going to be using. Take the wiper blade or tell the stockist the sort of car you want and he'll give you the correct blade. The one that I got here is called a universal blade. That means it doesn't just do this size and make of car, but it will do several others, and it gives us a little disc which we may have to use, but we'll come to that in a minute. So first of all, I've got to take off the wiper blade. Now at the very top there's a lever, I don't know if you'll be able to see it or not, which you can press forwards and backwards. And all I have to do is to press the lever forward to release it, lift up the blade and let the lever go back. And that is the one part which I'll put away and I'll replace it with the new one. It is possible to replace only the strip of rubber, but this is very tricky. There's a little clip at the end, you need pliers, and the clip is very easily broken. And I think for all the cost, it's slightly dearer to buy the whole unit. It's as well to buy the whole unit to replace it. So this is the one I'm not going to use. Now, I was given in this kit the new wiper blade plus this little fitting, but when I look at the wiper arm on this car, you can see that this attachment is already fixed to the wiper arm. So I'm not going to require this one because it's already here, so I can put that away and now fix the new blade. There's the little pin. Again, release that bit, put it in place, let it go back into place, and then replace the wiper, and there it is, ready to continue with your motoring. So that's the first thing done. I'll get rid of these bits and pieces, because the next thing I'm going to do is to replace the bulb and this headlamp. Now the bulb is replaced from inside, from under the bonnet of the car. So first of all I have to release the bonnet, and I've got to do that from inside the car. So just in the same way I had to release the bonnet when I was checking the oil, and then lift it and put the stay in place. Now I hope you're going to be able to see what I'm doing inside the car here. That's the new bulb, which we shall leave there. The whole fitment is behind the headlamp here, and there's a white plug, which you may be able to see. This plug is simply pulled off. It's not a bayonet fitting, not a screw. It is simply pulled back, and this is where the electricity comes through these wires, through the plug, and into the bulb. So I've removed that, put it out of the way. And then I have to remove this black rubber cap. It is simply here to protect the electrical parts from moisture, so the rubber cap can remain there. Then what do I see? There's a metal spring which holds the whole fitment, the whole bulb fitment in place. So the metal spring has to be taken off. Now, there are two little clamps at the bottom, which, that's one, that's two. So, lift off the metal spring and keep it safely. And then the whole bulb simply pulls out of place. So this is the part which has to be replaced, the bulb and this little metal collar. So I take the new one, put this out of here, and do be careful not to touch the glass because, of course, you're going to leave finger marks and reduce the efficiency. And it goes in exactly the same way the other one came out. So put that in, please, maybe to wiggle it about to, that's it, to get it exactly. It'll clip into place, and then to keep it firmly in place, I'm going to need the metal spring. So it is replaced in the same way it came off. With all these things, I have found you have to study very carefully how the thing came off and then you simply replace it in the same way. Now that's the metal clip holding the bulb in place. It is all shielded with the rubber cap. There's a hole in it, and that's where the prongs of the bulb come through. Put it in place. The 3 prongs are then revealed, and the plug is pushed back on place. That's it on. Now the moment of truth to find if the light is actually going to work. So we'll take down the bonnet. And see. Good. That's a relief. Muriel should be able to see where she's going now with the bulb working, and I wonder how she's getting on with her oil stain.
Getting off might be more appropriate. Well, it's not only when you're working with cars that you get oily marks on clothes, as you've probably discovered. They come off door hinges and catches too, usually when you're all dressed up to go somewhere. So I'm showing you 3 ways of getting rid of oil stains on fabrics. And I've put samples on fabrics because I've chosen something that will show up and something that you can see without me obscuring it with legs and sleeves of garments. This is a washable man-made fibre, which doesn't usually present any problems at all. This is one of the more difficult ones. It's a woolen material which you might have for a coat or a suit or a pair of trousers, and this does give us a little bit more difficulty. This is the worst one of all. It's a fine, delicate fabric which you can't wash, the sort of thing that might be an evening dress or a cocktail dress. First one really is quite easy, and all you need for this is some washing up liquid. If it's an expensive or valuable garment, it might be an idea for you to test it on an unseen part first in case the washing up liquid leaves a mark, but it's unusual. Just put some neat washing up liquid onto the stain and work it gently with your fingernail, and you'll see as the lather comes up, I think you can see it here, the greasy mark is coming with it. And just work that gently between your fingers. Don't rub too hard because you'll get fabrics coming up in little pills, as they're called, and knobs, but that will lubricate the stain away. Then all you've got to do is wash it in the usual way. This is just plain water, of course, because I've got detergent with it. And, of course, you may need to repeat it. We've been quite heavy-handed with our oil stains here, but I think you can see that a good bit of that has come out, and another application of washing up liquid and another wash would probably get rid of it completely. That is the easiest one. Then we come to the non-washable fabric. And here you've got to be careful, because if the garment is very soiled anyway, when you use a solvent cleaner, you may get a clean patch showing up in the middle, which is the last thing you want. Here again, as in the first programme, we try to work from the wrong side. This stain is almost equally bad on both sides. But on a garment, try always to work from the wrong side and push the stain back the way it came. I'm going to use a solvent cleaner. There's quite a selection which you can buy in the chemists, and you want to avoid this question of leaving a ring. So start away out beyond the stain and make a ring of solvent round it. This helps trap any ring mark, and then work through pressing hard onto a clean pad, changing the pad as you go along so that there's always clean underneath. If it's very heavy fabric, you might want to use a brush just to get this right out of the fabric. But that's your technique. Keep changing the pad on top. When you've got all the stain out and it's clean underneath, take a little fresh solvent on a clean pad and feather it out like that, so that you try to avoid a ring mark. But it does take a wee while. But you can see, look, there's quite a lot of that coming away already. The last one is this one, the tricky one, which you mustn't wet. And I'm going to use an absorbent cleaner for this. I've got it in a little shake container, but magnesium carbonate or bleached fuller's earth you can buy from the chemists. To make that slightly damp without marking it, use your steam iron. And just puff a little steam onto the surface. Don't touch it with the iron. And then sprinkle on your solvent cleaner and rub that in well. Now, that would need to be left for about 10 minutes to dry, and then you brush it off. If there's any improvement, try it again. You may need to do it 5 or 6 times. And this will take out all kinds of stains from non-washable delicate fibres. Can't do any damage at all. It can't leave a ring. It can't damage the fabric. But if it's a dark-coloured fabric, do this from the wrong side so that the powder doesn't make a mark on it. Patience and perseverance are the order of the day at this game, I'm afraid.
Patience, Muriel, I've got a mark on my sleeve. Can you do something about it?
Oh, you would, clever girl. Well, I suppose I owe you a good turn after what you've just done for me.
Oh, good.
How did you get
Good.
on?
Fine, no bother at all. It was very simple. And the interesting thing was I didn't need any tools, either for the headlamp or for the wipers.
Just your own fair hands.
Just my own hands. Yes,
Lovely.
lots of fear.
Well, I must come out and have a look at it.
Yeah.
But in the meantime, I'm afraid we've got to say goodbye.
And if you'd like details of what we've been doing, write to us enclosing a large stamp-addressed envelope with 30p stamp on it and send it to Do It Herself, Grampian Television, Queen's Cross, Aberdeen, AB 9 2XJ. Goodbye for now.
Goodbye.
I can to our